I love it when Sony releases two brand new full frame camera bodies and a full frame lens on the same day after just a couple of weeks ago releasing a brand new camera, a brand new lens, and a brand new microphone, also all on the same day. It makes for a wonderful uploading schedule. But this one is the most exciting one, I think, out of the announcements today. This is the brand new A7C II. Now, the A7C is currently the only full frame camera that I own. I'm recording with it right now. I use it in my studio, but mostly I use it for just taking photos with my full frame lenses when I'm reviewing full frame lenses. And if you guys haven't noticed already, I've been messaging in the comments recently and really responding to some DMs talking about how I've been thinking about upgrading my A7C to the A7IV just to get the better colors, just a couple more features here and there, better sensor. And now with the release of this A7C II, that's no longer a consideration because this camera is everything that the A7IV is and then some. Here it is next to my first generation A7C, and at first glance you'll see that there are minimal differences. Unless you're up close and personal, you won't be able to tell which one is which. The grip is a little bit better on the new one, it curves out more and it is more textured and rubberized compared to the original, but it's still a far cry from something like the grip on the A6700. And that is a move that I simply do not understand by Sony, because by far the single biggest complaint that people have about these smaller camera bodies is that the grip is inadequate, especially if you are using a larger lens, something this is not even a telephoto, but something longer than this. You need something that is grippable because you're going to be using it or holding it with one hand. And I really think that the minimum, bare minimum, should be this grip that we have on the A6700. This is a massive, massive improvement, and it's a shame that Sony didn't put this grip on to these new camera bodies. Now, this new camera body does feel better than the A7C. It feels more premium, better finished, and a step above the new ZV-E1 as well, in my opinion. There is a scroll wheel at the front, which is great. Finally, you can control your aperture, shutter, and ISO independently, like on a big-bodied camera. The new mode switch subdial is here, and it is excellent, much better than what I've had to deal with in the past. Beyond that, the flaps are a little different, but still a single SD card slot. And the big improvement is, after what, 15 years, Sony has finally fixed those noisy, dangly triangles. Normally, the first thing that I do when I get a Sony camera is remove those little triangle danglies. I have a collection of dozens of them somewhere, but with this new camera, I didn't have to mess with them. The viewfinder is the same 2.36 million dot unit, but Sony says it is twice as bright as before, which is good. It's also significantly bigger than the one on my A7C, as it is a 0.7x magnification versus the old 0.59x, which was a bit of a joke. APS-C cameras had better EVFs than the A7C did. Now at least the EVF is somewhat respectable on this A7C II. So physically there is not much change, but internally this is nothing like the original A7C. You get the A7IV sensor, a 33 megapixel back illuminated Exmor-R with the Bionz XR engine with 15 stops of dynamic range. They also added the dedicated AI processing unit, which gives you excellent subject recognition and tracking and cool features like auto framing. This new A7C II has 759 phase detection autofocus points. You can shoot up to 10 frames per second with mechanical shutter or electronic shutter. The IBIS or in-body image stabilization has been improved, and it now features up to 7 stops of compensation. Now, it's not as good as the 8 stops on the A7R5, but certainly better than the 5 stops that we've had for about a decade. Video specs are identical to the A7IV, 7K oversampled 4K video up to 60 frames per second with 10-bit 422, S-Cinetone, S-Log3, user assignable LUTs, creative looks, anti-flicker, and flicker-free shooting. The list is long. This new A7C II has focus breathing compensation, focus map, autofocus assist, in-camera time lapses, and you can use it to stream in 4K up to 30 frames per second. And you get all of this in a camera body that is is 45% smaller by volume than the A7 IV, and it's 22% lighter. It's just over 500 grams with a battery and an SD card. So it is simply a slimmed down, smaller A7 IV. But with the addition of that AI processing unit, this new A7C II isn't some moderate update in terms of performance. The difference is serious. Eye autofocus performance is improved by 60%, with improved recognition accuracy from a distance even when your subject is turned away or wearing a helmet. Animal autofocus performance is up 40% with head and body recognition for precision eye AF. This applies to insects as well, and also cars, trains, and planes. Auto exposure has been improved with a new algorithm that results in 20% more reliable and accurate exposure, and this also ensures white balance is more accurate even with difficult lighting conditions. And of course, you have the auto framing ability that we've seen with every new camera with that AI chip. It's a robust feature set, and I'm leaving out a good 50% of the other various specs for the sake of brevity. This new A7C II really is an A7 IV crammed into a smaller body, and if you remember when the original A7C came out, that was an A7 III crammed into a smaller body, so I guess there is some similarity in that respect. And there will be some negatives that people will talk about when it comes to this new camera, but all of those negatives realistically are solved by a camera that already exists, and that is the A7 IV. If you need dual SD card slots, get the A7 IV. If you want a larger grip, get the A7 IV. If you want a larger and better viewfinder experience, get the A7 IV. But on the flip side, if you want much better stabilization, better autofocus performance, AI tracking, all in a smaller body that is lighter and less expensive, this new A7C II makes sense. And maybe it is for the time being just a placeholder for the next A7 Mark V, which will now have to add features that make it stand out and better its smaller sibling. The big negative for me is that hefty 4K 60 crop. If you're recording 4K 60 with this new camera, just like on the A7 IV, you have to do it in Super 35 or APS-C mode effectively, and that cuts a lot of those 33 megapixels out. In fact, you're probably better off getting a camera such as the A6700 for 4K 60 recording if you're going to be doing a lot of that, because this will give you more resolution and probably better image quality. As for overheating, I recorded 4K 60 for about 1 hour 45, and then I got bored and my battery died, and I gave up on trying to see how much longer I could have went. But inside at 75 degrees or so, you can record for a long time without issues. I did feel this camera getting hot while just shooting photos in the heat, and certainly it got hot after recording for about 30 minutes, but even at the hour 30 mark, it was just warm to the touch, not crazy hot, and there was no high temp indicator either, so it's a good performance for a small camera body. Anyway, I think this new A7C II is going to appeal to a broad audience of people who are looking for a compact camera that is fully featured. I mean, the A7 IV has always been an excellent performer, excellent camera, kind of underrated. And so for them to add all of that into a smaller body and then add the AI features, as long as you're okay with the small sacrifices that you have to make as far as dual card slots, the grip, the EVF, etc., that I've already mentioned. And the pricing on this, I'm recording this a couple of weeks prior to the launch, so I don't have definitive pricing, but I think it's going to be at $2,100 US, which is competitive when you compare it to the A7 IV. It's $300 less than the A7 IV and arguably a better camera. But when you compare this to the original A7C, that thing was $1,800, so this is $300 more. I think that if they would have priced this under $2,000, this would be a grand slam super seller, but they may put it on sale, you never know. For me personally, between this new A7C II and the new A7CR being announced today, I don't want the 61 megapixels out of that 7CR. I'm happy with the 33 out of this one. This one is also significantly cheaper. It's small, light, with great features. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Are you excited about this camera? Are you getting one? Is it what you expected? Were you expecting more? Were you expecting less? What do you think of the price? Hopefully the price is correct. Also, I'll add a link down in the description. That way you can read more about the specs of this camera and check actual prices. That way I'm not spewing nonsense. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for all of your comments, all of your likes, and your support. Stay tuned for more. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.